Again, right? So someone who's really smart once told me to start a story in the middle as opposed to the beginning, because it's a whole lot more interesting that way. I started my design firm about 25 years ago, when I was about 25, so that puts it right smack in the middle of my life. At the time, we were doing branding and design work for Fortune 500 companies, and learning a tremendous amount along the way on how to inspire people and motivate them to do something. The something at the time was about buying products. While we were doing this work, we had the opportunity, because of the profits that we were making and how small our company was, to spend pretty much 50% of our time doing the corporate work and using the funds that we got from that to underwrite the other 50% of our time, which was doing projects of a kind of social value, but things that were deeply personal to ourselves that gave back to communities, including this pooping dog logo, because communities need that. One of the clients that we had early on, about 5 years ago, was the Human Rights Institute. When we were working with the Human Rights Institute, very much along the model of what we were talking about a little while ago, they drew a diagram for me, and that diagram pretty much changed my life, and it's exactly this simple. Human rights violations are scored from 0, 1 to 2. 0 meaning a country's doing incredibly well, no violations, everybody's doing wonderfully. 2 is the stuff that you're reading on the cover of newspapers, these gigantic atrocities. They drew this line for me. When a country moves from a 0 to 2, it's moving from almost no violations very rapidly to a tremendous amount of issues. They also drew this line. It's a steady line, you know? Companies, the organization's always been doing about the same, and continues to do the same. Being a math person by nature, I was alarmed by the diagonal steep change, because the rate of change surprised the heck out of me, and I thought that that was the thing that we needed to address the most. The statement that these guys told me was like, actually, don't worry about that line very much at all. Worry about that horizontal line. That horizontal line is changing, is consistent over generations. And over generations, we lose the muscle memory to get us back to, or the emotional memory, even the psychic energy, to get us back to a time when things were better. That line changed my business completely. 5 years ago, we stopped working with Fortune 5 companies. Right now, we only work with organizations that are contributing to communities and contributing to social good. To be clear about what that diagram was measuring, it was measuring this. It was measuring torture, summary execution, disappearance, imprisonment for political beliefs, civil liberties such as free speech, freedom of religion to vote, to assemble and move, workers' rights, women's rights to equal treatment. When we first started doing the work for Human Rights Institute, we were helping them with a conference. We assumed when they called us, when they came to visit us, that the conference was going to be something that was happening way over there, you know, in this foreign place that we knew nothing about. Actually, we were doing a conference about human rights issues right here in the States, in our backyard. In order to put this material together, we figured this thing is going to go nowhere. It's a downer. Like, I could feel the energy in this room right now. As soon as I started reading through that sign of what they were measuring, the energy was like, oh, this isn't fun anymore at all. So what were we going to do to keep the energy level high enough so that people want to participate? The first thing that we had to accept is that design is a byproduct here, that the hero of the story was the participation itself. So we got online and tried to find people to help us with this message. And we landed on the Association of Media Photographers, and wouldn't you know, the first button on their website was Find a Photographer. We clicked that button and found photographers all over the country, who were willing to go out into their communities on this experiment. They went out and they started collecting stories. They didn't know the people that they were going to talk to. They were just going to walk into the streets and say, hey, this is something interesting. Let me take a photograph. Let me ask this person what their story is. They sent us back stories from across the country, such as stories from Alaska about how global warming has created devastation for long-standing tribes who now have to become migratory again. They sent us stories about education inequality in Connecticut. They sent us stories about healthcare injustice in Maryland, about access concerns in New York, about homelessness and domestic violence in Washington State. Now, I promised that this was going to be actually more uplifting, but it doesn't sound like those stories particularly were. The one connective thread in all of these stories was that they were all filled with hope. Not a single person in these situations would share their stories and you'd walk away feeling depressed. As joyful and resolved as they are in these images is as joyful and resolved and filled with convictions that they are in the stories that they were telling. Because I believe of that energy, this work ended up plastered all over universities, all over the schools that were getting it. They were self-printing these posters and muraling with them. And it created a tremendous amount of energy for the conversation, for the conference, that shifted the conversation from that image on the left, this sort of passive way of attending to a conference, to a much more active and dynamic and involved way of hosting a conference. Next question I'd like to answer is why now, specifically? In the work that we're doing since then in communities around the state, this, by the way, the work with the human rights had us super focused on what's going on here in our own backyards, and I get so distracted by what's going on across the state and everywhere else. In the work that we're doing right here, we're noticing that there's a tendency to want to just overlay solutions. Take a solution from over here, apply it to this community, and hope that it works. Corporations won't do that because the energy is too valuable for them. And yet, with communities where the resources are much, much tighter, we have less to play with, they're willing to take that gamble. And we decided that we're going to approach this from a completely different standpoint. We're going to get in, we're going to learn about these communities so that the work that we could do would be impactful. I'm going to use two examples right now to illustrate this. The first one, they're from two M communities that we work with. One is in Middletown, the other one is in Madison. Middletown is a tough town. It's a very blue-collar town. It's got some areas in it that are kind of tough and high in crime. We also got some data back about the youth in Middletown, and we're finding that 85% of that youth, 81% of that youth feels undervalued by their community. And we thought that that was a very important message to bring forward so that the community could observe it. This next slide is from a video that we did for the Middletown Youth Services Bureau. And it's going to have two segments in it. The first segment, the kids are going to talk about what their experiences are in the town. The second segment, the kids are going to share with you what is it that they were hoping for from the adults and from the community itself. We'll skip that slide.
Well, I want adults to see me and treat me with respect and kindness and caring, but it's not how they see me.
We need a chance to be responsible. We need a chance to prove ourselves.
Adults generalize, teenagers based on the actions of a single group. It's definitely very aggravating. It makes the whole responsibility of proving yourself a lot harder.
I need adults to remember what it's like to be a teenager.
I need to be trusted.
Listen when I talk.
I need you to listen to my input and not ignore it. I need you to be more involved with us.
Inspire me to reach my goals.
I need opportunities to lead.
Help me deal with disagreements in a more of a positive way.
Ask me what music I'm listening to.
Just say hi once in a while.
Tell me more about you. Wave to me when you see me.
I need you to volunteer in my school.
Come to our shows, even if you don't have a kid in school.
Show up to a game, even if you don't know anyone who's playing.
Give me a chance. I know I'll surprise you.
Give me a chance to prove myself.
Give me a chance to prove myself.
Give me a chance to prove myself.
Be the role model that I hope to be one day.
When we did the rest of the campaign for these guys, and we've created dozens and dozens of tools for them, we kept in mind this idea that the installation artist Jenny Holster shares. And to paraphrase one of her installations, it would say, go to where the people are hungry, feed them, and organize them. With that mindset, the materials that we do for the Middletown Youth Services Bureau has very little to do with actually sharing the information out. What it has to do with is putting the tools in the kids' hands so that they could go out and advocate for themselves, because in our belief, nobody ever feels empowered when somebody else is speaking for them. And this, by the way, is a sign that speaks about in their youth center, that speaks about what the expectation is by the end of this grant cycle. Is that 1 bazillion% community involvement in building assets and empowering youth, and they're pretty close to it right now. By comparison, Madison is a very different town. It's a shoreline town. It's very wealthy. It has a totally different set of circumstances, and the kids have a different set of opportunities and challenges that they're up against. The next clip that we're going to show is a contrasting video. It's about 2 minutes long. It's a prevention video that talks about drug and alcohol use. And what you'll see is that you cannot take this message and layer it over the Middletown messaging in any way, shape, or form. It's entirely specific to that community.
When I was a kid, my father handed me a poem I carry in my wallet to this day. It makes clear that if you're not constantly working to be the best you can be, then you're cheating yourself. I'm proud to say the student athletes at Daniel Hand understand this, and they're not interested in cheating themselves. We compete in the most demanding conference in the state of Connecticut, with over 70% of our students participating. We get tremendous support from our community, and that's a source of pride for our athletes. We work hard for our town and for our school as a way of acknowledging that support. To achieve this requires full-time, everyday dedication from every member of our team. Simply put, greatness comes from being respectful of others, of yourself, and of your commitments. And believe me, it transfers to other aspects of life as well. In 2012, our football team took a look at facts regarding alcohol and substance use. The big one was this: a few hours of careless partying can sweep away the benefits of weeks of training. You're just not going to run as fast, jump as high, throw as hard. That's straight science. It's measurable. The team took a pledge to be substance-free that season. Players looked out for each other. They worked to hold the standard. That shared investment made them a stronger team. They ended the season undefeated and were chosen as the #1 football program in Connecticut. That's as strong a testament as I've ever witnessed to what's possible with hard work, peer support, and sacrifice. This point of view isn't limited to sports. It's true for our musicians, our actors, our artists, our academic achievers. The ability to accomplish greatness increases dramatically when you're 100% committed. Every one of us has the potential to be a servant leader, a value adder. And with that, the sky really is the limit. So take a deep breath and look around you and answer this for yourself, for your team, and for your town. What are you willing to do to be your best?
Our company has been in Hartford for 12 years now. And up until right now, we haven't actually done much work in Hartford. But over the past year, we've been working with Compass Youth Collaboratives. We've just started working with the city on a downtown initiative. The energy that we've got going into Hartford is starting to bloom for us. I think we're finally getting it. The reason we are in Hartford right now is because we do believe that the morning will be brighter. As the Bauhaus song says, I'm a fan of quoting like 80s punk bands. We are focusing, what we ask of the town and what we ask of everybody that's contributing is to focus less on what you're going to get out of it, because what you get out of participation will always just take care of itself if you could keep your focus on what it is that you're providing. So with that, I took a walk around town yesterday for about a half an hour and shot what was going on there. There's a new bus line coming into Parkville that should be an opportunity to change the dynamic in that community. Folks like Ann Cubberly that you saw earlier today has set up her shop in Parkville. That's a commitment of resource and spirit. Along with Ann, guys like Hartford Denim are bringing in micro businesses into the community. Natalie Sweeney, who was here earlier, has a plan for this eyesore to turn into a wonderful co-working spot. And the idea that we could build a hotel for innovators that acts kind of like an extension of a dorm experience. We won't take no for this. These are people that are committed and dedicated to making a change, and I'm looking forward to seeing this happen in our town. Thank you very much.